Hi there, and welcome back to the Creators MBA podcast. I am Dr. Destiny Copp. Today's episode is a little different. I sat down with my peer mastermind, a group that we call the Weird Hermits, for a roundtable that is all about MCPs in Claude. And if you haven't heard that term yet, MCPs are also called connectors. They're what let your AI plug into the tools that you already use, like Kit, Airtable, ad account, your calendar, and even your grocery delivery. We get into exactly how each of us is using them right now to automate the work that used to eat up our days. Email analysis, ad reporting, customer support, full content workflows. A few of these examples honestly really blow my mind. This is 6 women running real businesses, sharing what's actually working and not just theory. So grab a coffee, take some notes, and let's get right into it.
Okay, welcome everyone to another roundtable with my friends in my peer mastermind called the Weird Hermits. This is a group of 11 of us. There's 6 of us here right now. And we are here to talk about MCPs in Claude, also known as connectors. And really, it allows us to automate a lot of our workflows. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we kick it off, I just want to go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves. So I will call on you first, Destiny.
Hi, my name is Destiny Copp, and I run 2 brands. One is my B2C brand called Hobby School, and then I have my personal brand, my destinycopp.com brand, which is the Creators MBA, where I help digital product entrepreneurs get that consistent revenue in their business.
Awesome. Steph?
Hi, everyone. I am Steph Blake. I also have multiple brands. I will not share all of them with you because we will be here all day, but what I do in my B2B business is really focus on helping entrepreneurs simplify and automate their businesses so that they can work 20 hours per week or less. And I also created a tool called Block Builder, which you have probably hopefully heard about by now as well.
Hi, everyone. I am Ruth Poundwhite, and I support business owners with their soulful sales and aligned AI to help you sell and use AI in a way that supports your capacity, your values, and your personality.
Love it. Liz?
My name is Liz Stapleton. I run 2 B2B brands. First is elizabethstapleton.com, where I use my background as an attorney to help online entrepreneurs understand the legal side of running an online business. And then over at Creator Ops Hub, I help creators systemize and organize and scale with automations and systems that keep their life in check so they're not stressing and digging around everywhere.
Love that. Jody?
I am Jody Bourne, and I have 2 B2B businesses as well. One is I help hosts of vacation rentals, glamping resorts, and boutique hotels elevate their brand and get more bookings. And through that, I started Born Strategic AI Solutions, and that's where I'm helping people build out custom skill builds, typically around getting found by AI, but all sorts of skill builds, blogging, and all of that.
Love it. And I'm Monica Froese, and going along with our theme here, I also have 2 brands. My B2B brand is Empowered Business, where I help content creators create high-converting digital products and also start their e-commerce shops on Shopify. And B2C is Redefining Mom, where I'm now helping moms get started with AI. Okay, so to kick it off, I think I want to preface this with saying everyone in this room was, before even AI really became a thing, definitely before automations became accessible on AI, we were all at various levels of automation. I will be the first to say that I had not automated very much. The extent of my automating was what I could figure out in Zapier, however you want to say it. And it really wasn't helping me save time. I can say that, maybe a little bit of time, but nothing was really automated. And a lot of my data was useless to me because even though I love spreadsheets, I had to manually update everything. So I was definitely behind, I think. And I think in this room we have Liz and Steph, who is probably automating more than most of us. And now I feel like AI has put us on a pretty even level playing field with what we can access in a way that's very easy to understand. Would you all agree with me? Yeah. Okay. So let's start by defining what an MCP is. And I think the easiest way to do this is actually just to read the definitions from Google, because otherwise we might just botch it. So I pulled it up before we started recording. And what an MCP is, it's an open standard created by Anthropic, which Anthropic created Claude.ai. And it allows AI assistants to securely connect to external tools, databases, and data sources. It eliminates the need for custom integrations, letting AI systems easily plug into various systems to read, run code, or retrieve real-time context. And what I think is really important about this is MCPs, it's like a two-way conversation. You can ask the MCP tool to go out and do stuff for you in these external tools and also bring information back to you, which is really cool. So I think where I'd like to start is to go around the room and talk about what MCPs you're using currently in your business. I feel like a new one's rolling out every single day. What are you using in your business right now that's the most impactful? So let's go around the room and talk about that. Who wants to go first?
I go.
All right, Steph, go.
Why not? This is Steph. For those of you, you're obviously not watching a video. I use a lot of different connectors in my Claude account. So I use Claude specifically for everything with the exception of image generation. I use ChatGPT for that because it is so good. So if I've not created images in ChatGPT lately, go use that. But for my Claude connectors specifically, the ones that I use that save me the most time is Airtable, Fathom, Gmail, and now very recently, Kit, as of a couple of days ago. And then also as of yesterday, the Meta Ads connector as well. And I would say, and I think everybody here is on Kit for their email, right? I think that I can say for everybody here in the room, that has been one of the most impactful connectors for our businesses because it gives us so much data from our emails, which I don't know about you guys, but I was just not looking at before. I had an Airtable spreadsheet, but I had a team member go in and manually update that. And half the time the data wasn't correct. So that has probably been my favorite one. That and Airtable. I use a lot of them together, but I would say probably Kit and Airtable are my favorite.
What I find interesting about the Kit MCP is that it uncovers data that it was not accessible in our accounts. There really was no way to see that. And it also identifies patterns, very simplistic way that I used it. And somebody in the group actually made me think of this. I think it might have been Ruth. But the other day I went in and said, hey, out of my community members, so I have a paid community called the Empowered Business Society. There's 119, 120 people in there. I wanted to know the commonalities. How long have they been on my list? What other things have they purchased from me? And what is their lifetime value? There was really no way for me to holistically look at that. I've sold 100 different products over the years that people have been on my list. And it bucketized it. And it also makes it look pretty. And then it helps me understand the types of people that are buying into these programs. So my warmer people, I can message a little bit differently and bucketize them a little differently.
I just also want to quickly give a shout out to Destiny because she put together a great blog post on how to create a dashboard from Kit. It was on my list and then she shared it and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just copying everything that Destiny said. It was great. So Monica, we should link to that.
We should. And when we link to it, I actually took that article, put it into my cowork, asked it to analyze what Destiny was doing. It built me a dashboard based on her blog post. And voila, now I have it. And actually, do you want to talk about what your dashboard does, Destiny, and also maybe what live artifacts are? Because I feel like it's in here.
Yeah. So I just really, when I got access to the Kit MCP, I just started playing around with it. So I just had it connect to it. And Monica, just so you know, I took the transcript from our last Weird Hermits call that we had last week, where I specifically asked you, because you were in that beta trial with Kit. I said, I'm going to start playing around with the Kit MCP tomorrow. Where should I start? And literally everything you said in that transcript, I took that and put it into Claude. And I said, I now have access. Help me analyze this and build all of this out. So that's basically, just so you guys know, where that dashboard came from. And it just went into my account. It just started pulling everything and just started really digging into a broadcast and what was going on with my subscribers. And I don't have it in front of me right now. It just gave me such a wealth of information. And it gave me some areas that I really needed to go back in and maybe take a look at. For instance, I'll give you a specific here. In my kit, on both of my accounts, I have a pretty strong, aggressive, I should say, cold subscriber sequence. So people coming in, and if they're not engaging, it basically kicks them out. And what I realized after really looking at that data, I was probably being more aggressive than what I needed to be. So it helped me go in and just look at those cold subscriber emails and adjust how aggressive I'm being there. So I'm anxious to give that some time, like 6 months to roll and go back and analyze it. But the other thing that I did that I thought was really cool, and it just came out of that transcript, was I set up a Monday report that went back and is basically analyzing everything that happened the week before in my brands, my emails, and just basically saying, okay, here's where people are coming from. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. So it's doing a lot of that analysis too, which I need that. I haven't had that in the past. I always meant to go and do that on a regular basis. And because it wasn't readily available to me, I just let it fall by the wayside. So I don't know. I'm with Steph and I'm looking at all the connectors in my account. And there's some that I really like I'm going to dig into the Shopify one. The meta ads one that I started digging into was really cool. I have the HTML pub, I have the script, I have Canva. Gamma is another one I use a lot. But that kit MCP is, I think, going to really move the needle in my business.
And the dashboard that you built, is it a live artifact?
Yes. Basically, it can go in and any time that I need it to update, it will update. The challenge that I have, and I know that a lot of people here have multiple businesses, I have 2 separate kits accounts, and it only allows me to connect one of the accounts at a time. So if I need to go in and do an analysis of my other account, I have to disconnect it and go in and connect it again, which is a pain. So I'm hoping that they're going to be able to fix that. But I'm just living with it at this point.
Not to try to troubleshoot it, but I also have multiple kit accounts, and I actually hadn't thought of this, but could you keep the one you have connected in Claude and go to Codex and connect the other one and then have the Codex just pull the data to send to Claude?
You probably could. I haven't done a lot of work in Codex yet, but that's definitely something to check into. I'll let you
I will say
first and then let me know. If it's working.
I will say that Zapier lets you do MCP connections. So what you can do is connect Zapier and Claude. I have this with my Gmail, so I want it to use different accounts in Gmail. It does confuse it sometimes, but one of them is connected via the direct Claude Gmail connector, and one of them is connected via the Zapier MCP connected to Claude. So it's getting a bit technical, but there are workarounds. But this is all such new stuff, right? I'm sure that they are going to keep iterating and improving, and this is definitely going to be a problem for a lot of us who have multiple accounts in these things.
The other thing I did, so I didn't even have to use Codex. I just went into normal ChatGPT and I connected my B2C account for Kit. And that it chose Claude. I want my main brand to be there where the most of my money is coming in. So that's why I didn't connect to Redefining My Own Brand, but I still wanted the same insights I could get. And ChatGPT did a great job at breaking down very similar insights that Claude did. So that's another way you can still leverage when you have 2 different accounts. With my Shopify MCP, I haven't run into any issues, but when I'm analyzing different shops, I just reconnect it to whatever shop I need to analyze for whatever I'm doing at that moment. So that's another thing you can do. All right. So what other MCPs do we want to talk about? Who wants to?
I'll jump in. So I already talked about Kit a little bit. I actually haven't dived into the Kit MCP as much as you guys have. A lot of the stuff, I'd been heavily using the Kit API before connecting it to Airtable. So I already had my data set, but actually analyzing it is something I'm starting to do. I do that you can create sequences with it. So it's helping to automate when I set up a JV workshop is I'm like, okay, go create the sequence and create the email to ensure the onboarding of the workshop or whatever. And then like Steph, I also do a lot of Airtable. And what I love about Airtable is pretty much in every thing I'm doing, whether it's Codex, whether it's Cowork, and now I'm starting to mess around with anti-gravity a little bit, which is Google's version of Cowork and Codex that isn't quite as good, but is still interesting. I use Airtable, so it's a single source of truth. So I'm never having to go dig, be like, where was the chat I was doing this in, right? So it just is always pulling it into some Airtable base that I have so that it's easy for me to find and view later, or to connect and be like, oh, I think that's in that one. Can you go pull there and have it pull in things from multiple Airtable bases if need be? And then the other one I use a lot is ClickUp. So anytime I need to do stuff, it's creating my tasks. So I have quite a few automations. I was talking a little bit before we were recording about my content kind of engine that I've been creating and using. I use both Claude Cowork and Codex for it. Mostly I use Claude Cowork for actually writing things where it's more creative outputs. And then Codex can do a lot of other things, work with the image generation, create a featured image. But it's all in an Airtable base because that's what I had set up before all these tools came out. But it will go into ClickUp and be like, okay, within all the blog posts and the statuses, here's what you need to do for each one. And then I just have to go click and look at that exact thing and check it off my list. So it's just making it easy for me to look at my day and be like, okay, this is what I have to get done. And I don't have to go digging or wondering. I'm still building that out, right? But it has been super helpful. So Airtable and ClickUp, I'd say, are probably my most used, just because it's keeping all my stuff centralized, it's keeping all my tasks in one place, keeping all my data and information in another, and single source of truth approach.
So I think one of the things that's important for people to know is, so we can send data out, get data back, but these tools can stack on top of each other. So one of the examples I was giving before we start recording was school is where my communities are, and they do not have an MCP. They do not have good Zapier actions, and it can be frustrating. So when I'm thinking about how am I going to track my churn for my membership and have a good grasp on my data for that, it was very manual. And now with these MCPs, the things I would have to do, like untagging in Kit, making sure that the form always matched who is in there, what happens when someone churns. All I have to do now is download the CSV of active members, put it in, and this automation kicks off from a skill. So I have a skill that's basically saying, when I drop the CSV for active members, it will do a series of tasks for me. It will call the Airtable MCP, update the database. It then updates, it goes to my HTML pub and it updates my member dashboard, like my visual member dashboard for me to see it. And then it does all the Kit work, all of which was pretty much manual for me before this. And now I just have to drop a CSV, walk away from my computer and come back to a very pretty dashboard.
I just remembered a Kit MCP I actually do use quite a lot is for updating snippets. So basically I now have dynamically updated snippets within, so my email, like the template has these 3 sections. If you guys have heard of Adama, who's in our group as well, 4x4, I haven't actually taken her course, but it's definitely inspired by that. And I've got these 3 sections, and it's where I'm sharing events I'm part of. Those are where the mentions, the blurbs, affiliate products, whatever. And I have an Airtable base that's like scheduled. And then every day the Codex goes in, it looks, hey, do I need to update any of the snippets? Have the dates changed? And it'll just go do it if need be. So
I love that, Liz. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yes.
Destiny shared before how we take these transcripts and we get stuff out of them. Like when you can have our Fathom note taker, can be connected to Claude, can be connected to whatever. You could get it to work just from the chat. It's amazing. I want to zoom out a bit. There's so many cool use cases, but for me, what's such a game changer as someone who, like Monica said right at the start, some of us are we're a bit more behind in terms of the automating. I would count myself with that. Also, I tend to get really overwhelmed with loads of information, or when there's multi-steps where I have to go to different tools all the time. Keeping it in a central place for me has just been so amazing for my brain. And being able to ask questions. Literally, the other day I went in and I said, okay, check my Kit account, who signed up as a paying member for my latest launch, and tell me how long they've been in my world or what they have in common and all of that. That's just something that would have totally overwhelmed me before, let alone if it was even available to look at in any way. But that for me is the biggest game changer. And what I will say is so many cool use cases that you're all sharing. My biggest hack for this, as someone who is not an expert in terms of tech and automation, is to voice record speak out loud your entire process and just brain dump it. Even speaking it is so much easier than typing it. And it doesn't matter if you say it in the wrong order. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong and think of something later. And then the AI tool of choice that you're using will put it into an order. You can get it to search for the connectors. It's not foolproof when it does its own search. Often it will get it right, but sometimes it gets things wrong. But yeah, absolute game changer. So I had a process where in one of my offers, I'm doing regular updates. And then every time I record a audio update, it has to be transcribed. It has to go to a podcast, has to go to an email, has to go to a member area. There's a lot of steps. And I just verbalized it all. And some of the tools I use don't have the connectors, but some of them do. But it still put it into a process, and I've handed off as much as I can. And even the bits that I have to do manually, it makes it very easy and just tell me, here's the link, go do that one little thing. So for me, that is such a game changer. All of this stuff, when we are individual business owners, is in our heads, taking up space and energy. And it's just exhausting sometimes trying to figure it out. And we don't even know what we don't know. And it's just making it so much less overwhelming and more powerful insights than ever.
Totally agree. And I forgot where this came from. Oh, I think it was actually a member of mine. He said recently, he was like, if you can dream it, you can build it now. And so now when I think of something and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't even know if that's possible. Just go ask AI if it can do it for you. And oftentimes now, it will come back and say it can. So, Jody, what about you? How are you using MCPs?
I watched a video a couple of weeks ago and the guy said, think of an MCP as your extra hand. And that kind of clicked really well for me. Oh, yeah, there's so much I could do with an extra physical hand. So one of my favorite things that I just developed this week, late last week. So I have a lot of meetings because I have client calls and I'm teaching a group. And I now have, it's connected to Fathom, which is what I use for my meeting transcriber. As soon as it checks every hour for a new call, which I'm probably going to change that to twice a day because every hour is a little much. It checks for a new call. And I created my own skill called the transcript debrief. So it pulls out any testimonials from a client, a to-do list for me, a to-do list for my assistant, a to-do list for the client, a brief summary that I call client-facing summary, and then Jody-facing summary. And then it drafts my email to the client with the to-do list and puts Hannah's tasks into Asana and schedules them. All in 4 minutes. And do y'all find this, like watching them run? You're just like, I'm just going to sit back and drink some wine and watch my little assistant run over.
Mine was the last event that I ran when I was sitting there holding my cat, petting the cat, and my presentation was being built in front of me with my speaking note. And I'm like, what in the world is happening right now?
And it looks so good.
It's incredible. And
incredible.
A lot of this, I think I want everyone to remember that I get really good presentations out of it. I know Destiny does as well. Keep in mind, it's really as good as our inputs too. We know our topics. We're feeding it the information. I fed it dozens and dozens of my transcripts to understand how I talk and my inflection so that my speaking notes come back. I've spent a lot of time educating it on my brand standards and different things I like to see in presentations, feeding it presentations that I've built from scratch over the years. So we have to remember that too. We used to say in corporate. Yeah, like we used to say in corporate, junk in, junk out when we were talking about data. Same thing with the AI, junk in, junk out. So we still have to spend that time educating.
Does anyone else ever, because I know Monica used to work corporate. I used to work corporate. I think most of us at some point had a corporate job. We're like, oh my God, my job would have been so much easier. But
I was in licensing for a while. I'm really wondering how obsolete that's going to be with these MCPs. I don't know. So yes, I do think how incredible the amount of spreadsheets I used to work in corporate and VLOOKUPs and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Nuts.
My corporate job is obsolete now. I went to school for graphic design. That's not a thing anymore. That was before Canva, aging myself. And I also did PR. I did corporate management, a robot can definitely take over the job that I used to have. But one thing that I wanted to add on to what you said, Monica, about pulling your brand voices is one thing I've started doing is adding literally every single one of my calls from Fathom into Airtable. So it's not only, it doesn't pull the full transcript because it's too long. but Claude will go through and it will pull out the most important pieces. And it'll give me talking points for future emails. And it's a whole spreadsheet that it pulls together. And that has been so great for writing emails, writing sales pages, because I just say reference my Fathom Airtable base, and it has literally me speaking. It has my tone of voice. It can pull. It knows when it's me talking in there. And that just, I don't even have to upload anything. I don't have to upload the brand standards. It's just literally pulling from it. And if something in my life changes, then it's going to know that too. It's just all reflected in there. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. I use a lot of different MCPs, and it's really hard to narrow down a favorite because I really think they all work in conjunction with each other in a lot of ways. But I am going to pick the Meta ad one that recently I got access to both my account. And the reason I'm going to pick this one and talk about it is because I think it's going to demonstrate a few different things that I want to cover in terms of skills kicking off workflows, tasks, and co-work kicking off workflows, and then also what these live artifacts are. When I taught ads for a long time, and I find that I'm pretty good at ads, and I understand how to read the data. And lo and behold, I'm again mind blown by the data I can get out of my ad account that I don't even know if I knew how to find all this data it's giving to me now. So when I got access to the Meta Ads MCP, I simply opened my Claude desktop app. I went to Cowork. I said, hey, you're connected to the Meta Ads MCP. I want to run a report on these ads I'm running right now in my account. I didn't tell it what data I wanted. I just asked for a report of how they are performing. And it created this thing called a live artifact, which lives in the Claude desktop. And live artifacts they basically, every time you click on it, it pulls a fresh feed from that MCP. So it's always updated. So just to give an idea of what this could do. So at first it pulled the data in, but then I said, can you give me actionable insights? I'm currently running ads for a live event that's starting in 4 days. So I just, while you all were talking, had it pull fresh data. And it's telling me today so far, we're like halfway through the day on the East Coast, I've spent $75.50. I've reached 1,217 people. I've had 77 clicks and a click-through rate of 22.25%. I'm getting a $2.54 cost per lead on my carousel ad, but my video ad is giving me $4.13. And the analysis was the static ad campaign is a clear winner, delivering 20 leads at $2.54 and a CPM of $49.28. Meanwhile, the video ad is underperforming significantly. Despite a higher click-through rate, it costs 62% more per lead and carries a 46% higher cost CPM, indicating either audience mismatch or poor click-to-conversion quality on the video creative. And then it gave me 4 next steps to take right now to improve my ads. We're all looking into it.
It's so good, Monica. That's so. And
just
even
blew my
loading the ads manager is so clunky and slow, and then reordering all the columns and all of that. That is just brilliant. I love it.
Monica, I have a client that just told me that her ads team told her not to connect the Meta MCP. I told her, I think it's because they don't want you to see that data. Agree?
100.
I said, that doesn't make any sense because she's very techie. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. They probably don't want you that deep in that data. So connect and see what it's telling you, because
she could be spending a lot of money in audience buckets she didn't know she was doing. There could be tons of things she could improve, creative. Yeah. Even the fact I never would have even thought about the fact that there's a mismatch with the video to the landing page and it connected those dots. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't even have to think. It's just like, here's the disconnect. Go fix it. Or allocate your ad spend to the ad that's getting half the lead cost.
I almost wonder if it could replace a tool like Kairos. I have not played with it, but it seems like it can. And if anybody has used that is not a cheap tool. It gives you $400 a month.
Yeah. It would be so great if it could also, there's not a Google Analytics MCP yet, but when that happens and you could connect the Facebook Analytics and the email analytics and the Google Analytics all together and just have a normal conversation about analytics without blowing your mind.
I don't think even Gravity will be the first to experiment.
Yeah, probably.
Google. I paid once for someone to build me a $6,000 dashboard that broke all the time. It was supposed to connect my Shopify data, my Brightpart data, my Google Analytics, Search Console, and I paid all this money for it and it broke constantly. I never ended up using it. It was a sunk cost. And now I'm looking at these live artifacts going, what? You just press a couple buttons and there it is. I would like to give some examples of how
Monica, Destiny wants to say something.
I just want to comment, Steph, on what you just said or what you just mentioned about Hyros. So I built a dashboard in Manus because that's what Jordan said. That's what she recommended because she had left Hyros and went to build that dashboard there. I basically had it already, and then I got the Meta Ads MCP connector. I'm like, I don't even need that anymore because this is giving me what I need.
So it does replace it.
I feel like it does, at least for what I need it for. So I think you're going to be perfectly fine.
Okay. Add that to my list to play with. That's right.
Yes. So does anyone have a good example of a workflow that they kick off either by a skill, like my example that I gave with, I give it a CSV and the skill knows to pick it up and runs the skill, dictate the entire workflow and what tools to call in. Does anyone have an example of that or a scheduled test that they run out of cowork that it kicks off and these automated workflows happen?
I have so many. What kind of you talk about? So one that is where I kicked it off, which is, it's very simple, but it actually isn't pulling in a lot of tools, but it's how I'm backing up on my Thrive Learn courses. Is I just say, go back up this course, and then it knows to use computer use to go open the page and edit, pull all the lesson content, put it into Airtable. I have an Airtable base, connects it from the course to the module to the lesson to the asset. And so it's pulling everything in. And that's something I manually kick off. And that's the only time I really keep an eye on as it's running because it is doing computer use. But then I've got another one, which is anytime I have a customer support ticket, and I think this is what this topic covered at your summit that's coming, is it will see that if I have an automation Airtable that pulls together any purchaser data. I'm not showing a screenshot now. But yeah, so any purchaser data, and then it sends it over to a different Airtable base because I don't want to be giving the AI my customer personal information. And it looks at the purchaser data of what products they bought and when. It looks at their ticket issue, and it can see all the past tickets I've had, find one that was similar, so that when it's drafting a response, it's actually close to what I've done before, but it's able to see what AI had drafted in the past versus what I actually sent. So it can see where I made corrections. So it's constantly getting better. And then it will draft a response that I can then review and send as need be. So just each day it checks, is there a new ticket? I have the same thing is each day it checks, do I have any people trying to redeem their creator cash, the credit in my business? Are there any new videos in our video creation workflow that I can take action on? Is there any blog posts in the blog post workflow that I can take action on, whether that's in Airtable, whether that's doing research, whether that's an outline, generating images, sending it over to WordPress, recording what Google folder link is for the video so that when I send it to Make, it can upload it to YouTube. So it's constantly doing a bunch of different things. It checks for the kit promotion snippets. I'm working on building out one where I'm like, go check these Facebook groups to see if there's bundles or collaborations that would be a good fit for me. So I have so many.
I love it. What other ones are we using?
I have a lot as well. I had to pull my screen up because I couldn't remember, but I would say so. Every month we do events for my B2C brand, and I have all of that completely automated with scheduled tasks and connectors. So for example, we need resources created for our affiliates, right? Like swipe copy, images, all of that. So it says on the first day of the month at 2 a.m., it will kick off and it will automatically create all of that content and throw it into Airtable. Marks it as published, done. I don't have to do anything. We also have email sequences for all of the events. So same thing. On the 5th day of the month, because I didn't want them all in the same time, I like to spread things around for my usage. That one will also write, I think we probably have 20 to 25 emails, like for all of the different elements. That one also kicks off. All of those HTML generated emails are automatically added into Airtable. I don't have to do anything. Same thing for 24-hour reminder emails, right? All of those are automatically created. My Fathom, I mentioned that previously. So every day that will go into Fathom, see what happened in the last 24 hours, and then it will pull all of that into my Airtable base. assigning due dates to different tasks that I have. So again, for our monthly events, we have a template in ClickUp, and it will just duplicate that template and assign due dates to all of, there's not many tasks on there anymore, but I think there's probably like 20 tasks, and it'll assign due dates to everything. Again, all of this we were previously doing manually before. I don't even know how much time has been saved, like hundreds of hours. It's incredible.
You had someone pretty much running that side for you. Are you still working with someone, or have these taken over the automated workflows?
It has taken over like 90% of the work. There are still some manual things that need to be done. Like we have to set up an automation to deliver like the resource or whatever. So there are some pieces, and that's where the ClickUp task comes in, is where like those manual only tasks need to be created. So that's when it creates that ClickUp task, it will assign the due date to him, and then he'll go in, do it. And he also handles customer support because I don't want to do that. But that's like the most important piece that he does now. But all of the tech stuff is pretty much automated.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share what automations they're using?
So I'm teaching Claude to a group of people right now, and I'm basically helping them build a team of employees. So I have a client that's in that group. She's on MailChimp. She uses MailChimp. And so we've created this blogging thing. I've watched it work 4 times. I'm so excited by it. So she has a 12-month calendar. We've done all of her foundational documents. It's all in Claude. So this is an automated task every week. It writes a blog based on her 12-month plan, takes the blog, writes the email, sends it to MailChimp, and then it gives her 3 or 4 outputs for social media as well. And so we just tested it, she and I together twice, 2 weeks in a row, and it's absolutely fantastic. So now she's going to set it up on her system. But the content is what is amazing, because the skill itself is based on the skills that I've written and provided to her, but it goes in and does the extra research. And then it flags her in the chat what extra research was done, what things that they may have made up, or what needs her review. So that before the blog even publishes, before the email, she's not going to set it up to send. And I don't think that they will send as far as MailChimp. I don't know. Will ConvertKit send? If you just send from, okay. But anyway, so just creating the email, and it's HTML, so it's beautiful. That's just this beautiful output. She's so impressed, and I'm impressed that this can be her workflow from now on. Every Monday morning is just click a button. Her social's written, her email's written, her blog is written, and she can just go about the rest of her day with a margarita or whatever.
I'll share one because my community wants me to keep them updated on AI news. And that is very hard to do. It's like drinking through a fire hose out there. So I came up with an automation. It's called Daily AI Angles. And so I really never had, the information was all over the place, I would say. But now that I finally gotten on board with Airtable, and no one could understand why I wasn't on board with it, and I didn't really understand how it functioned until I got the MCP, I created a centralized database of all of my products that live in Shopify, Thrivecart. I have products in school. They're all over the place. And so that has links to what the product's about. And every day, the Gmail connector goes and pulls down my daily AI newsletters I'm subscribed to. It researches certain websites for new AI news. It pulls that information together. It benchmarks it against my Airtable with all my products. It gives me ideas of how to sell my products based on the current AI news. It then drafts a weekly school post that I can put up for my community, letting them know the top 5 to 6 things that they should pay attention to in the AI space. And it knows to look for the angles of how it is for creators. But what I really loved about it was because of the Kit MCP doing analysis for me, one of the things it said is your strongest emails are when you tie your products to the current AI environment and what's going on that's timely. Today is a great example. I was writing my Friday newsletter, and I pointed it to the folder that has all my AI daily documents in it. And I said, here are the 3 things I need to talk about in today's email. Can you tie an AI news story to it based on the research that was already done by this daily task that's been running? And it wrote based on a skill for my newsletter, it wrote the entire thing in my voice. So it's just incredible when I think back to when I was writing these newsletters, even 6 months ago. It was taking, I send it at 3 p.m. on Friday. I would start writing it at 8 a.m. after taking my kids to school. And I would sometimes be done with it just under the deadline to get it out. And felt like just holding the cat and watching it happen.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing is there's no end in sight, at least not to me. It's like you said before, Onyx, if you can dream it, you can build it. And that is, I 100% agree with that. This is so ridiculous. But one day I was like playing around with different AI images. Instead of doing a photo shoot, I was to see what kind of photos I can come up with. You know, sometimes the teeth are funky or the hand is funky. So I went into Huffable and I created an app that literally fixes that. It fixes the funky teeth or the funky like hands. So it looks normal. And I was like, this is insane. There were other tools on the internet and they were charging you $99 a month to do that. And I was like, I built this in 5 minutes. It was crazy. And I think that as you just work, I think it's important for everybody to think from this different mindset of like, how can we simplify this? What can we automate? We don't have to be working as hard as we're doing, especially not now, because it just makes it so easy.
I feel like it's just allowing me to be the bigger picture strategy. It's allowing me to focus on that and creativity. Whereas I can see how much the bottleneck was me having to, by my own fault, but there's so much on our shoulders when we're running a whole business. We are good at a certain thing, but then we have to get good at all these million other tasks that we have to do in our business. And I feel like I've unlocked or potentially unleashed a segment of my creativity and I'm the strategist and it's incredible. Yeah. It's just so exciting.
It's like it unlocks this new level of genius that you can tap into. Now you don't have to worry about all this other stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah. One of the things that just personal things like banking. Now, Claude created a spreadsheet for me. I still don't let it connect with my bank. I know it's about to. Now I think Plaid has an MCP for bank connections. But what used to take something I dreaded, I hate banking stuff. I hate accounting. Something I dreaded is now literally just going to my bank, downloading my thing for the week, my transactions. I put them in my Google Drive and I have this nice spreadsheet and this little email or this little message that tells me what I spent too much money on or what I forgot to pay for or whatever. It's crazy. But the best thing, do y'all do Instacart? Have y'all seen the Instacart MCP now? So that's what I'm using Dispatch for. I just dispatch my grocery list to Instacart. I ordered groceries and had them delivered yesterday just by talking into my phone and having my whole list ordered through Instacart. And it was I can do it from anywhere. You're driving down the road. It's so crazy. And all those time savers, they free up all this mental crap. So even if you're not using it for business, just playing with it to see what you can use it for is so powerful.
I was telling Steph yesterday so I've been using AI for the last 2 years to understand my macros and my kids' dietary preferences, allergies, all of that stuff. Now, because of these connectors, I have a project that has all this knowledge about me and the girls and all that. But now it knows my ex and I switch our schedules a decent amount. We work well together like that. It knows to go check my calendar, what days, because it's clearly labeled when I have them, when he has the girls. So it knows what days I have the girls. And then I simply take a picture of my pantry and my fridge and my freezer. And it builds my macro-friendly meal plans. It's one of the things I struggled with is I was cooking for me and I can't eat in portions and I was wasting so much food. And I could not get that under control. So it helped me to understand, it said, get a food scale. And it helps me weigh everything out by freezer, everything in ways that I can cook so I'm not overcooking. And it builds these elaborate meal plans, tells me what my macros are going to be. It knows what different chicken nugget brands my little one will eat or won't eat. And now with the MCP to Instacart, same thing. Now it builds my list for me in Instacart. I'm like, What world? I thought Instacart was life-changing when it came out during COVID. I'm like, I'm never going to have to go to a grocery store again. And now it's like, I don't even have to tell it what I want.
I haven't
Does
used that one yet,
anything-
but I will because I use Instacart. We use Instacart 3 times a week. Because I have boys and they eat a lot, even though they're 3 and 7. I don't want to know what it's going to be like when they're teenagers. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just told Claude the other day, I want a Cobb salad. And the only thing I have right now is chicken. So, and it put everything in the cart and all it was a buy button that I had to click. And
Wait, you just told it you want to eat this food and it put all, okay. All right. I know what I'm doing.
yeah, he asked me the question, he said, I want a Cobb salad tonight. I need to order from Instacart. Can you send the list? And it said, what ingredients do you have on hand? And it said, you can take a snapshot of your refrigerator if you'd like. And I said, no, the only thing I have on hand is an avocado, but I don't think it's ripe enough, and the chicken breast thawed out. And it built the rest of it. It asked me, do you want to make your own dressing or do you want to buy a dressing? I said, I'll make my own. So you need lemons? Yes, I need lemons. Do you have olive oil? Yes, I do, but I need a high quality olive oil. And then it ran with it.
It actually
We have got to do a show on just all the personal stuff.
I agree. We will schedule that. It went as far to help me. It told me what to order on Amazon to organize because I started freeze packing in these smaller portions, how I could organize it. So when I take a picture, it understands what meats I have and also the volume of the meat of how it told me to organize it. My girls do know they are not allowed to touch the top of the freezer and mess up mom's organizational system.
Is there an Amazon MCP?
There's not.
God.
This is what I'm thinking. We're going to look and make buying choices depending on what has an MCP. And because it's very easy to think, especially when we're stacking them up, very easy to think, oh, just doing this one bit manually is okay, or just doing this other bit manually. But actually, when you do stack them up and when there is an MCP for each step of it, it's like, whoa, it's incredible. But one of my workflows, I do have to still do this stuff manually because there's no MCP. But it makes me think, would it be worth me changing to different software? Because then I can totally automate it. Or how long are we going to wait? Because I'm sure that a lot of these companies are working on it behind the scenes, just like Kit was. And then it suddenly came out, like, our minds are blown. But yeah, it's definitely a factor now in what we're using.
I had a client, she downloaded 2 years worth of her Amazon shopping list or her purchase history, and they used it for their vacation rental glamping business. And it analyzed everything she bought and then told her whether she should switch to Costco or Sam's delivery instead of Amazon, and gave her the different things that she should buy from Costco versus Sam's versus Amazon. And then also how to schedule it out so that all her inventory stayed on track. And, she thought of that on her own. I was like, this is brilliant. How much money would Amazon tell me I was wasting by not just driving to Costco 2 minutes away?
I agree. Okay, this has been a very fun conversation. So I'm going to go around to everyone and we're going to just let you know how you can connect with all of us. And my final tip is going to be, at least when I publish this on my website, so I'll go first. You can find me at monicafrose.com. I publish all my podcasts on the podcast feed there. You can copy the transcript, put it into your Claude or even ChatGPT, although I recommend Claude because it really allows you to connect all these things together, and ask it based on what it knows about you. How can it take the ideas from our call and build them into your business? Destiny said she did that based on one of our call transcripts last week. I do that all the time now. Steph got me onto Fathom. Before, I was not saving my calls, and now I'm like, oh, I can see the power of it by saving all of our calls. That's where you can find me. Destiny, how about you?
Yeah, so destinycop.com, Creators MBA podcast. I also do the transcripts just like Monica does there. And I also have a school community called the Creators MBA Boardroom.
Love that. Steph?
Yeah, so you can find me at theblakecollective.com. Everything that you need to see is there. Keep it simple.
Ruth?
I'm at ruthpounddwight.com. I run the Soulful Sales Show podcast and the Quietly Ambitious community. And both of those, I share a lot of AI resources and tips, especially for lower capacity business owners.
Love it. Liz?
So Liz Soupson, Creator Ops Hub, and I'm actually going to direct you guys to my YouTube channel for Creator Ops Hub. Just search that. And it has a video on how I'm using Codex and Airtable. Got my Thrivecart Learn courses. So if you guys are in Thrivecart, you know what's happening. You can check that video out.
Awesome. Jody?
You can probably find me best at jodyborn.com. And then in the footer of my website, I have both brands down there where you can switch to back and forth.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me for this conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And I always like picking your brains because you are all brilliant.
It's been fun.
I have ideas.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.